Republicans are revolting against Donald Trump right now. And I'm not just talking about the MAGA supporters who are furious that Donald Trump has broken his no new wars promise, or are insanely upset that Donald Trump has skyrocketed their cost, or that he's hiding the Epstein files. Wow, this guy breaks a lot of promises, doesn't he? But no, Republicans in Congress are revolting. So much so that Donald Trump has declared a state of national emergency to try to protect himself as Republicans conspire to end the power that he is desperate to cling on to. We're going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button, because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, we're not only going to get into the Republican revolt on this issue, I want to talk about Epstein later in this video, so stick around for that, but we got to start with the reason why Republicans are revolting, and Chris Murphy broke that down talking about Greenland right here.
So what you are essentially talking about here is the United States going to war with NATO. The United States going to war with Europe. I kind of can't believe that I'm going to talk to you about the consequences of invading Greenland, but I am, because you have to take Trump seriously now. Nobody thought that we were going to be invading Venezuela or running their country a few months ago, and now we are. So he says he wants Greenland. He says he's keeping the military option on the table. So let's just talk about what that means. Here's what you need to know. It's sort of a basic thing. Greenland is a part of Denmark. Denmark is a NATO country. And the NATO treaty says that if any member is attacked, then all the other members have to come to their defense. So what you are essentially talking about here is the United States going to war with NATO. The United States going to war with Europe. You're talking about the US and France being at war with each other over Greenland. We can't sort of sugarcoat this. Like, that is what we're talking about here. Now, every NATO country would have to make a decision whether they were going to rush troops to Greenland to fight America. Some maybe wouldn't, some might. Who in the United States of America wants a war between the United States and Europe over Greenland? And Donald Trump, he just sees the world in terms of real estate, right? He's not trying to fix any of your problems. He just wants a ballroom. He wants a big land mass that he probably thinks is a lot bigger than it actually is because he looks at the wrong map projection. But you're talking about war between the United States and Europe. And so it's kind of insane that we have to explain this to him and to the American public. But understand that that's where we're at right now. The President of the United States entertaining an attempt to take Greenland by military force, which, by definition, might end up putting the United States in a shooting war with France.
Donald Trump went from no new wars, which was one of the bigger lies that he told on the campaign trail, to I want to be a wartime president for a very obvious reason. One, Donald Trump knows he's going to die soon. Praise be, mashallah. And he said, I'm sorry, I hope that's not offensive to anyone. Like, he doesn't care if 50,000 people die because he cuts their health care. So putting that aside, Donald Trump obviously wants some legacy to leave behind. It's the reason he's concerned with the Nobel Prize and putting his name on buildings and whatever. But Donald Trump also wants to be a wartime president because he thinks it gives him absolute power. He said it to the New York Times. Donald Trump said, oh, I'm not governed by international law. I'm governed by my own morality, which is an oxymoron because Trump doesn't have that. And Republicans understand that. And it is why they are getting in his way. So before we get into the national emergency that Donald Trump wants to declare and why he's doing so purportedly, we got to start with the biggest Republican pissing him off. Trump 79 explodes at GOP senator in profanity-filled call. Donald Trump laid into Republican Senator Susan Collins in an expletive-laden phone call after she voted against one of his top priorities. The president reportedly made a profanity-laced call to the vulnerable Republican senator on Thursday, sources told The Hill. Collins was one of the 5 GOP senators to join Democrats in advancing a resolution on the War Powers Act from committee to the floor, which passed in a 52-47 vote earlier in the day. So Donald Trump is livid. Susan Collins is screwing up his plan to, I guess, be a military-style dictator. That's what he wants. Or, I guess, not invade Greenland and instead give each Greenlander $1 million. That's being floated right now. That'll really make groceries cheaper. Great decision, Donald. But he is obviously furious about the fact that he can't go into Greenland, that he can't expand his authoritarian project and taking everything he wants out of Venezuela. So right now, Donald Trump has resorted to whatever power he thinks he has left and is making this shocking move. Trump declares national emergency to shield Venezuelan oil cache. Donald Trump declared a national emergency to shield Venezuelan oil revenue held by the U.S. government from seizure by private creditors, framing it as a critical move to U.S. national security and regional stability. The big picture, control of Venezuelan oil, some $2.5 billion worth, is now a cornerstone of the White House's strategy in the Western Hemisphere and an opening for U.S. companies in wake of Nicolas Maduro's capture. So Donald Trump wants to make this as big a deal as possible. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One of them, obviously, Donald Trump hoping that we'll all move on from the Epstein files, which, like I said, stick around because I want to get into some breaking news on that from Lawrence O'Donnell and one of our favorite senators in Sheldon Whitehouse on this show. But Donald Trump also wants to make it seem that the Republicans voting in favor of the War Powers Resolution who want to restrict Donald Trump's ability to act outside of the Constitution, which seems like their job, Donald Trump wants to frame them as impeding America's national security. Right now, he is trying to make an argument against them. Donald Trump is on the phone screaming at these Republican members of Congress, members of the Senate. He's posting on Truth Social saying that they should never be elected again, which is pretty funny because he needs Susan Collins in the Senate if he wants to have any chance at moving forward Supreme Court nominees in the second half of his term. And to that I say, Donald, go crazy. Go ahead and knock her out. That would be fantastic. Graham Plattner, we'll see you in the Senate, baby. But Donald Trump is trying to make that case right now at the same time as he is trying to make the case that it is in the national security interest and the broader national interest for us to take the oil. A phrase that Donald Trump continues to repeat, although he doesn't know what it means. It will take at least a decade for it's not us, ExxonMobil and other oil companies that will only get rich. They will only get rich. It will be no benefit to you or I. It will take a decade for them to put together the proper infrastructure with your tax dollars. So they're probably not going to pay for it. Maybe they will in small part. That's part of the skepticism around this even happening. If they have to make this investment in a very unstable place, will it come to fruition? I don't know. It's hard to tell. But that is the reason why this is just so idiotic, that we're going to take the oil, because it will take so long and it will cost so much and it's such a risky bet. But Donald Trump sees this as an excellent opportunity for him to say, well, we're going to have all this oil money and it's going to be amazing and that's going to make groceries cheaper, even though it won't, and we'll release American energy, even though he said he was going to do that and it didn't change the cost of things. They've only gotten more expensive, and in fact, he has not unleashed American energy because he's canceling green energy projects, offshore winds. Donald Trump is shutting those down, costing high-paying jobs, cheaper energy, moving towards sustainability. Doesn't make a lot of sense. But what does make a lot of sense is this as a tool for Donald Trump to expand his authoritarian project and get us to stop talking about what? You nailed it. Jeffrey Epstein. Which is why the news that Sheldon Whitehouse is bringing to our good friend Lawrence O'Donnell is so important right here.
We've produced a little over 12,000 documents out of over 2 million documents that they say they still need to review and redact. So, they've been at this in theory for over a year. They came into office promising full disclosure of the Epstein files and that thousands of FBI agents were working on this. So the idea that they had to start from zero and could only get 12,000 documents out once they knew that this law was going to be passed and violated the terms of the law, violated even the report requirement for a report 15 days after the production date, suggests something really went wrong there. And the Inspector General is the person best positioned in the Department of Justice to take a look into whether this was incompetence, whether this was deliberate, whether this was misbehavior. What on earth happened to take this top priority of FBI Director Patel and this top priority of Attorney General Bondi and this top priority of President Trump and not be ready when the day came to actually release the documents? So we've asked the Inspector General to take a look into it. As you pointed out, this is a bipartisan request, and it includes the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, Senator Dick Durbin. So I think we have a good chance of getting some attention to it.
Over in the House, the idea of a subpoena for Les Wexner, the billionaire who supported Jeffrey Epstein for many, many years financially, for reasons no one could quite understand why he needed anything from Jeffrey Epstein that was worth paying for. That kind of testimony that no one has obtained from someone like that can really be a breakthrough in this investigation.
Yes. And if the Trump administration had been the least bit serious about getting to the bottom of the Epstein scandal, this is the kind of thing that the Department of Justice and the FBI could have been looking into. The tell here is that over a year later, it took Democratic pressure in the House from the minority to get a subpoena issued, rather than this being something the Department of Justice went ahead and did. It's reminiscent of the Senate Finance Committee under Chairman Ron Wyden, ranking member now Ron Wyden, getting the information about the billions of dollars that flowed through Epstein accounts to foreign countries, to women, mysteriously, producing what are called suspicious activity reports that go to the Department of Justice. But under Kash Patel and Pam Bondi, the Department of Justice couldn't figure out that a suspicious activity report might lead to suspicious activity.
Follow the money. That is what we have said on the show again and again and again. Follow the money. It will lead you to the people who were, in the words of the executives at JP Morgan, sanitizing Epstein's books. It will lead you to more associates involved in this criminal cabal, a criminal cabal that we just learned recently from Robert Garcia was seeing girls trafficked out of Mar-a-Lago. It'll explain a lot if we follow the money. That is what we are going to do, and that is what certainly has Donald Trump incredibly worried. There has been a lot of news this past week. It has been a difficult start to the year, to say the fucking least. And so I understand how we've kind of lost a little bit of the Epstein narrative. But Pam Bondi is still in violation of the law. So is Donald Trump. So is Todd Blanche. So is Kash Patel. All of these people are. They're breaking the law. They're obstructing justice. We have to make sure that their feet are held to the flames. We are going to do that on this show. You can bank on that. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And if you want to support the show in another way, go hang out with me on Instagram at JD Cocciarella, JDCOCCHIARELLA, or you can look below. It's my last name. And also, I always see comments about the pronunciation, Cocciarella. That's how you say my name. So I hope that's helpful for anyone who's been fumbling around with the Italianness of it all. And if you haven't, and if you care enough to know how to pronounce my name correctly, I really appreciate that. That's very sweet of you. But go hang out with me on Instagram. It's another place to hang out with the show. Keep on fighting. Don't let them silence you. I love you all the most. Until next time, I'll see you soon.